is the Ministry of Information, J.R. Valray, and this is the Ministry of Information Podcast. You can subscribe at the Ministry of 411 Podcast on IG or the Ministry of Information Podcast on Patreon and YouTube. This is a podcast that's dedicated to culture. How did you get into medicine? Did that go along with you getting into the human rights movement?
Part of it did, because I wanted to serve the needs of the people, and I thought medicine would be a good way of doing it also.
To finances and crypto.
Now, decentralization is removing the middleman. It's removing big data. I want to send somebody to you want to send some money to me. We're going to take out the middleman here. We just need somebody to agree that you have what you have and I have what I have.
And how does that happen?
So there's something called
history, fitness, diet, and so many other things. Trail, get all the candy you want to eat and shit out, bro. Don't worry about it. Hey, hold up. You got 3 more summers of young. And then the 30, that's what it is. I'm old right now. Make sure you tap in or get left out. Subscribe. It's your girlfriend's favorite podcast, the Ministry of Information, with the People's Minister of Information, JR. Today, our guest is the legendary Tajai Massey, one piece of the Hieroglyphics crew, 1/4 of Soldiers of Mischief, as well as a business entrepreneurial legend in the Bay Area. What's up with you, man?
Man, chilling. Thanks for having me.
Man, we had to record a little bit later than we do usual because I just found out that you are a martial arts instructor.
Yeah. I teach kids over at the school's called Iron Wave.
What you teach?
Yeah. I teach kids over at the school's called Iron Wave.
What you teach?
Jiu-Jitsu, traditional Jiu-Jitsu.
And how long you been doing it?
I've been doing it since '99, so about 22, 23 years, but off and on. I just recently got my black belt and started teaching. Before that, it was just more for just self-defense. And we travel. We're in a group. We travel. We underground. We're not paying no extra dues to be oos. You know what I'm saying? So we got to do our own thing.
Right. So martial arts wise, I know you a very accomplished dude. You architect, legendary rapper, you know what I'm saying? Cannabis entrepreneur, all of that. What made you even pursue a black belt when you already had so many things that was legendary under your belt? What made you say, you know what, I'm gonna take this martial arts thing serious?
I just feel like, doing things to completion. If you're gonna do it to completion. You don't have to be the best at it or whatever, but at least do it to completion, because you can't even make an accurate assessment of something unless you know A through Z of it, right? And so, and then, just the pain involved, like what you gonna go through all that pain for if you're not gonna go, take it all the way to the final level. I think there's something I'm gonna continue to train for the rest of my life, at my hotel, I'm about to set up a dojo there and have guys come out and do seminars and all that. And I mean, I've been fortunate, to be part of a lineage, coming from Dr. Moses Powell and Professor Florendo Visitacion, all these people who then taught my teachers, Anton Muhammad and Ikwe Matthews, who then, it's like a lineage of not only brothers, Muslims, etc., who have been doing it for a long time. So it's to take up the mantle of that too. I think, self-defense is extremely important. I got daughters, so they all had to go through it because I got daughters in the town,
They got to protect themselves.
Yes, sir.
So I know that they're commemorating Bruce Lee this year in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
Who is Bruce Lee to the black community, particularly in the Bay Area? You're a legendary rapper, been doing it forever. Bruce Lee had dojos right here in Oakland. I mean, who is Bruce Lee?
Yeah, when you say legend, Bruce Lee is, truly legendary. I mean, it's unfortunate that he had his early demise, but I think, how can I explain it? Bruce Lee, for him to have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Kelly in his movies, you feel what I'm saying? Though, like that put him down. Right. Like we was like, oh yeah, he's around here, right? So he's always been like top. And then he was
Philosophically, though, because I know you a reader and all of that. Philosophically, who was Bruce Lee?
I think Bruce Lee is someone who took from the greatest and made it even better. And by refining, by taking things out, and being more direct as far as his style and all that kind of stuff. And I think as far as philosophy, that's awesome. It's like a Porsche. Every year that they make a new Porsche, it's fewer parts than the year before. And that's their whole thing, is making it more efficient. And I think his style is efficient. And he did that by first being a student, a really good student, and then saying, okay, we're throwing this out, we throw that out. And that's very similar to the style that I study of Sanuka Jiu-Jitsu. It's basically, we're not going to go through the kitchen to get to the living room, man. If the fight's in the living room, do your living room thing,
So how important is a mentality? I mean, it's not just punches and kicks. It's a mentality, you saying?
Yeah, I think the mentality is even more important. As I grow older and the world gets wilder, I mean, first of all, cats don't be having no hands out here. And that's not like I'm some tough guy. I'm just saying it's not an option as much as it was when we were little. When we were little, we squabbed all the time, like best friends, et cetera. Like, what you want to do?
Right.
But as I grow older, I feel that my mentality is easier to project than actually the physicality. For the first several years that I was taking, I would actually have to yoke fools up. I find myself getting into fewer and fewer conflicts because of my mentality, not because of my skill. My skill is light years beyond what it was when I was putting hands on cats or getting hands put on me, et cetera. It's just that my mental, my ability to assess problems, my ability to understand, like, okay, this gentleman is just frustrated, or this guy is just loaded, or, oh, he didn't see that we was over here like this.
You have
like,
more discernment.
More discernment. So I think that is really the martial artist mentality. When I think about masters know how to de-escalate without hurting you. That don't mean without putting hands on you, but without hurting you.
I always thought that was interesting, that the more skilled people get, it seemed like the calmer they get.
There's a confidence that comes with competence, right? There's a confidence that comes with ability, but also you recognize like what you can do to a person. Like we don't really learn how to fight. We maybe watch boxing, or we maybe learn, you have to fight to learn how to fight. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of times as you get into the sort of upper echelon, I'm a first degree. I'm not saying this like I'm just jiu-jitsu man, Mm-hmm. But as what I knew as a green belt versus what I knew as a purple belt or a brown belt to a black belt, the things that I'm learning, like just tiny tweaks of the same techniques, make them way more effective, but also way more dangerous. And it's like, hey, I might win the fight and then end up in jail and have to fight some more. Right.
Right.
But the discernment, understanding what your skills are capable of, understanding energy, because everything, dance, music, rap, fighting is all about energy. It's an energy exchange, right? Mm-hmm. Fighting is just an energy exchange that usually ends with one person's energy being neutralized. I mean, that's the same with dance and rap and,
that's true.
Fencing and all these different things. That's true. I think that the deeper levels of understanding the martial arts are energy flow and understanding how and when to give and take this type of energy. And I think Bruce Lee mastered that. Like he said, he's not trying to punch your face, he's trying to punch through your head. And he was able to really channel that, when he in his punches, et cetera, and kicks, et cetera. And so to me, just watching him, I mean, it's like a dance. Then he also had just flavor. Like he was a fly dude. Like not when he was, fighting. Like when he was just fitted, just regularly, you could tell he was out here probably, out on San Pablo on the strip.
Right. Well, they got the picture of him DJing and all that.
Exactly. So he's I think an icon as much for his skill as for his personal style, his personal philosophy, and him actually taking something that was really held secret, they was like, yo, we don't be teaching them this, let them play with them guns and all that,
right.
and opening it up to the world, and really probably the biggest marketer of martial arts in martial arts history, right? But as far as known history,
right.
I think martial arts was probably big when you was really having to kill people with your hands,
right?
But then as far as modern history, celebrity and just like, it's not just the fighting, it was a philosophy.
Right.
And then the movies and all that type, like he took it to another level,
Is he hip hop? Is Bruce Lee hip hop?
I would say Bruce Lee is hip hop in that he took something and made it an international phenomenon. And that's the same thing kids from the Bronx did in the 70s. And I would also say that martial arts is hip hop. Like all the movements and breakdancing and all that, that's all martial arts based. So they intersect, you know. But
Right,
Bruce Lee is a phenomenon unto himself. But his philosophy, the fact that he took something and made it a worldwide phenomenon, and the fact that the movements, I think all those things kind of intersect with hip hop.